Hey everybody, Jeffrey Powers here on the video channel over on Geekazine at www.geekazine.com. And what a better way to do this video than driving around, because you drive around and you got the windows rolled down. Well, I don't, because that makes way too much noise right now. But you also got, like the heater or the air conditioner on sometimes. And then of course you got your lucky little radio here. Well, sometimes you get a car that has a radio and it has a CD player and it has all the little cool things, but you want more. And nowadays you can get your iPod, your iTunes, your whatever going on that aspect, which is pretty cool. But sometimes you run into small snags, like for instance, this thing doesn't have a hookup for your iPod. I'd really like to have one. So we're going to look over a few of these things, especially because of the fact that iPod, the next iPhone, suspected to have the ability to have an FM transmitter on it. And well, what does that mean? Well, that basically means that it's going to have a little device in there, possibly, that you can then transmit to a radio FM frequency, like 88.1, 88.5, so on and so forth. I'm not sure if that's going to actually happen, mostly because of the fact that FM is pretty much a dying beast. Everybody's going into HD radio. So I don't think that we're going to see anything on an FM transmitter on an iPhone, simply because it's going to be pretty much defunct in about a year or two. So, but it does bring up an interesting factor. What is an FM transmitter? Well, I've had many FM transmitters. I started with this little puppy right here. It's called the iRock. I bought it back in 2002 or something like that. And it was beautiful. I put in a couple AAA batteries. I set it to, I have one of 4 stations I could choose from, 88.1 to 88.7. And then I'd plug that into, at the time, it was my CD player. This was before iPhones and iPods were starting to come out. And I then hooked it up to my radio, or turned it on my radio and hooked it up to my CD player at the time. And I was able to jam to all my tunes from the CD player, because my car only had a tape deck at the time. So, and that worked great until the cord decided to fray, and I tried some little surgery on it, and it didn't work. So I decided, it's time for an upgrade anyway. I mean, the device was only $20, $30 at the time. So I got this little device. It's called the VR3, and it's pretty cool because I could plug it into a cigarette lighter, and it also had a USB hookup. And it was great, but it didn't work. Not at all. And that was kind of sad. Every time I plugged it in, I turned on the radio station and all I got was a high-pitched squeal. And I got that was a Walmart special, so I pretty much lost out on that puppy. So, but people have had transmitters for a while now, and they've had little devices like the iTrip right here, and now the iSymbol, which is this device right here. Alright, we'll start with the iTrip. The iTrip is the same thing. You plug it into your cigarette lighter. The best part about this is it's a digital tuner, or transmitter tuner, so it'll actually, you push this little button right here, and it will actually tell you which frequency to turn to. Then you turn to the radio station, and then you hear your tunes. Great overall, simply because of the fact if those four stations were being used, I could actually switch to a different station, which was great. It was a great little concept, great little idea. However, as you drive, you pass radio towers, you pass other structures that can give interference. Now, these devices only give off a few watts of power, and when you use an iTrip or iRock or whatever, you're only using a minimal amount of wattage, as opposed to a radio tower. A radio tower can get you up to 50,000 watts of power. The whole point is that you have a 1 or 2 watt radio device. If you pass by a signal that's 50,000 watts at the source, you are going to hear. You're going to hear their signal. You won't hear your signal. So, and the other thing that was interesting about this, as I get ready to turn here, the other interesting thing about this is the fact that if you put your hand over the transmitter, that's going to change your signal completely. So what you'd have to do is you'd have to push the button, and then you have to let go of the device. Let it find the signal, and then about 3 seconds later, you come back, you take a look at it. And therefore, you'd find the station, you tune into the station, and it'd be great for a little while. And then another radio station would come into play, and then you have to find a new station. It's perfect for the highway. It really is. Because the highway, you're not getting as much interference as you are going through a town, going through a city, especially one that has a radio transmitter right smack dab in the middle of the town. Enter in this little puppy right here. It's called the iSimple. And what this device does is it actually hooks up into your radio. So you basically, as I got to change lanes here, basically what you would do is you would hook it up, you'd go behind the radio, you'd plug an antenna adapter into the antenna, so your antenna would go into the iSimple would go into the radio. Therefore, it could control the antenna a little bit better, and therefore keep the wattage low, but also say, hey, we're getting the signal from the iSimple as opposed to the radio. So we don't need the antenna to help hinder the device. You would then hook it up through a 12-volt in the car. You could probably hook up a cigarette lighter adapter. That's very possible. But you would then put a couple holes into the dashboard so you can plug in your iPod, you can plug in your MP3 player, or whatever you decide to use for audio. I'm going to tell you, the one thing that I don't like about the iSimple is the fact that you got to go behind the dashboard and hook up the stereo to it. It says that you need to have a professional do this anyway, and I'm thinking to myself, well, for the price, wouldn't you want to have somebody put in a brand new stereo instead? I mean, that's what I would do. Instead of go behind the dashboard, unhook the antenna, hook up this iSimple, figure out how I'm going to power it, and most likely tap into the 12-volt source and plug it in through there. There's a lot of work. If you had an older car with a tape deck stereo, you don't want to put any more into it than you can. Maybe the iSimple is perfect for that. But if you've got a really nice car, you might as well just go ahead and go to the factory and get a brand new stereo. That's my thought. There are a lot of other transmitters out there. These are a few that I've seen and I've used, and I still enjoy my iRock a lot. And I have actually taken the plug and rewired it so it worked, and got a longer cable for it, so it would actually act as a better antenna than just the straight up iRock itself. All in all, if you're expecting these FM transmitters to be the be-all, end-all for your device, you might want to think again. If you really want to get the iRock or the iTrip or any of the devices to really work great, then the best thing to do is to go in your dash and actually unhook your car antenna. The car antenna is going to be your biggest hindrance. If you decide that you want to have something that's going to be a little bit more in the dash, but I don't want to pay a couple $100 for a new stereo, then you get the iSimple. The iSimple will be easy to hook up into the dash. You'll be able to then hook up your iPod and keep the existing stereo you have. However, sometimes it's just best to go out and get yourself a new car stereo and listen to the tunes on the car. And that's the Geekazine video review. My name is Jeffrey Powers, www.geekazine.com. You can always call me at 608-205-4378 or geekazine@gmail.com. If you have a question, if you have a comment, or if you'd just like to call and say, hey, how's it going? So, for the Geekazine video review, my name is Jeffrey Powers, www.geekazine.com. Until next time, take care.